Thank you so much, Mark. Steve, it's so good to have you back. Steve has been a missionary in Thailand for many years, and he just returned not too long ago from a trip there, and so I was thankful that he could come and speak to us and tell us more about that, and also that that he and his wife chose to make us kind of their home church between their trips to Thailand and their trips around the country fundraising for the missions there. So thank you so much, Steve, for being here today, and we'll look forward to hearing what you have to say. Thank you.
Well, I'm really happy that we could be back here again. For those that missed my first talk, I spoke here on December 30, and that would be on the Kettle Falls church website if you want to go back and hear the story of how we got started. Today I'm going to just kind of carry on with talk more about the recent trip I just completed. And but for those that don't know, my wife and two children moved to Thailand in 2010, and we lived there for 10 years. In 2020, we moved back, and now we travel back and forth. But in the last 4 years, since we've relocated to the States, we've started many projects. And my screen is not showing me what's next, so I'm going to be guessing a lot. This is the first time I've put these slides out to show. So some of them are repeats, but this is the city of Chiang Mai, where we're mostly located. We live about an hour north of Chiang Mai. The city is the second largest in the country, and there are about 1 million people that live there, but 1.5 million people come there for every year for tourism. It's a huge tourist center. 89% of the people in Thailand have not been reached. Thank you for that song. When I hear this song and I think about all these people who have never even heard the name of Jesus, we need to tell them this story of Jesus and how he died for us. And our goal as a family, we started a ministry called Leading to the Light, and our mission is to collaborate with compassionate donors and dedicated local leaders to offer guidance, support, and resources to Indigenous Adventist gospel workers, enabling them to maximize their efforts to complete the Great Commission. Many of the people in Asia, Thailand and Myanmar and many of the countries, they don't have the means or the funds to even rent a building to start a weekly outreach to the community. And so where we help them most is to help them, we train them, we help them train workers, and then we build centers of influence. This map I made last year in, I think, March of last year, so it's a little outdated. Since we've started this, we've added 5 other centers, and this trip was an amazing trip. I hadn't been to Thailand for 4 years, and I got to reconnect with all the people that we had lived with and worked with for so long, but also got to see several projects that we had started from the States during COVID. And so it was a blessing to go, and it was very difficult in that it was about 6.5 weeks, and I traveled the whole time. There's so many projects to go and visit, but the Bible is full of promises of God's faithfulness. I want to start with this one. Know therefore that the Lord your God is God. He is the faithful God, keeping his covenant of love to 1,000 generations of those who love him and keep his commandments. And as we travel around the country, we want the people that we meet to recognize the character of God. We want them to hear about his word and hopefully desire it for themselves. But many of this boat that I'm in, we're headed up to, we have 4 schools right on the river in Myanmar that I had never visited before. They all were, we'd started them before, but I just never made it there. And so I went on this trip, and we traveled, I think twice I was on the river going to schools. But the schools are for the Karen children. There are many children that, so many of them have had to leave their parents because of war, but I think I have some pictures of that. A typical village along the river looks like this, and we get to the river. It was about a 2-hour river ride from where we were staying up to the furthest school. We went and visited. In that school, there's a dormitory, and mostly we're supporting the kids in the dormitory. There's not an Adventist school in the village, and so we can control the lifestyle and what the children learn as they're growing up by keeping them in our dorms. So that's kind of what we've been doing mostly. We do have a few schools. I'll tell you about one later. But these kids, many have come to the border of the country to avoid war. And this girl, there's a girl in the striped jacket. She's 20 years old. She came with these children. There's 12 total. I think they're not all in this picture, but her and 12 children came to this village to avoid the war. The Burmese army was coming into their villages, and the parents, they couldn't run and avoid the soldiers and take care of their children, so this girl led them all for a day away from the area over to this village where they had nowhere. They came with the clothes they were wearing and a little bit of food, and that's how they showed up. Well, the man I'm sitting by, the pastor, he helped them. We built a bamboo house, and there's a church there, but this girl and these 12 kids live in this house, and she takes care of them and makes sure they get to school. And she's just young herself. It's amazing how she can maneuver all these kids through the war zone and come to this safe area. But our goal is to support these kids, to give them a chance to hear about Jesus, because they're fleeing from danger into they don't know what. Their hope is they don't have hope in a future knowing Jesus. And so we try to open ways so that as many people as possible can hear about Jesus. And one of the things we do is we do build schools also. This school was built, though, by the Adventist Church in Mae Sot, Thailand. It's a border city. Thousands of migrant workers, families, are coming over the border from Myanmar into Thailand to find jobs. They have no money, they're poor, they don't know how they're going to support their children, so they bring their children into the Thailand. They go and try to find work wherever they can. They build just makeshift houses. Usually if they find a job in the agriculture, the owner of the fields will let them build on the side. And they have these really rugged bamboo villages just full of migrant workers from Myanmar. They speak Burmese language, so they don't speak Thai. They don't have Thai documents, so they're not allowed to send their children to the Thai schools. And many of the kids are not able to go to school. Some cases, the parents are telling them, we need you to stay and work, because they're not guaranteed work every day. So whenever there's a job, the whole family has to go and work. And so the schools, sometimes children are taken out of the schools so that they can move somewhere with their parents to find work, just so they can live another day. These girls in this picture lived in the village that I just showed you, the bamboo huts, but they're not allowed to go to school. They're staying home, taking care of their grandparents, while their parents are about an 8-hour drive away in Bangkok, working to earn a living to survive. And one of these girls we talked to, and she she wants to go to school, but she's not able to because she has to cut sugar cane whenever they ask her to. And so she stays and waits in hopes to find a job so that she can take care of her elderly grandfather that she lives with. And so when they're not working, we opened a center right near this village. And when they're not working, the girls come to the community center. There's a community center and a media center, 2 buildings that we've built there. And they come to the center and they study the Bible with our evangelist that stays there. And so we're able to influence and connect with them, and through them we can reach their parents also. This is another, I went the wrong direction, obviously. And they find money any way they can. Sometimes the children and the parents walk around all day with, I saw several with carts, and they're just filling it up with recyclable stuff and hope to make enough to buy food to last a day or two. And so it's a big problem for Thailand, but it's also a lack of resources for these people. The Mae Sot Immigration Office said that more than 1,500 children cross the border from Myanmar to Thailand every month, and about 5,000 students are not guaranteed registration for the coming school year because every school in Mae Sot is full. And we were wanting to help solve some of this need, and we've decided that we want to take our school, the picture of the school I showed you, and enlarge it. We want to move it, enlarge it. Right now it's maxed out with 140 children at it and 8 teachers, I think. We're planning this year to, with God's leading, to purchase a land and build a new school that will hold at least 300 kids, but the need is huge. And so there's a need for many, many schools to open up. But these schools are not just so the kids can get an education. Through these schools, the teachers are able to go into the parents' home and share the Word of God. We attach medical missionaries and even evangelists to every school so that there's constant work for not just the kids, but for the whole families, and sometimes the whole villages are affected. Inside the school, this school was built in 2013 because a textile factory burned down. And at that textile factory was many people living on the land. Well, their homes burned down. The Adventist church went there with food and relief and said, what can we do to help you? And they said, please educate our children. So the church voted that they would start a school. They built that building. They didn't have a lot of money, so it's brick. It's not finished. It's just useful. The kids, it started with 28 kids and 3 teachers in 2013, and it grew up to around 65 children in 2020 when COVID happened. And when COVID happened, many of the church members lost their income. They had no way to support that school. And so that's when they asked us to come and can we help take over the budget of the school. And I told God, if you ever send someone to me with a request, I'm going to say yes, and it's your problem to take care of it. I can't say no, but I will test them. Well, this school we were working with a little bit in the past, so it was an easy yes to say we'll somehow figure a way to help you out. And so this wall, the building is a long rectangle. The wall you're looking at goes right through the middle lengthwise, and on the back side of that wall are some small rooms. I think there's a picture maybe. So this is the back of the building. This is the cafeteria, and these small rooms line the back side. Well, in those rooms, some of the teachers are living. One room has 4 girls that are in it that it's too dangerous for them to live at home. There's chances of human trafficking and things are happening, so they stay there. One of the other rooms, these 3 boys, they were all baptized this year, and because they were baptized, they were all kicked out of their homes. They're not allowed to go home. the parents won't have anything to do with them. And so they're staying in the school so they can carry on with their Christian education. We feed these people physically, and we want to feed them spiritually. And our goal is to enlarge until Jesus comes. And whenever he gives us an opportunity, we found that he's faithful. He always finds a way. Sometimes we're waiting way longer than we think we should wait, but we still see him moving us forward. And really, it's at a pace we can manage. The amount of work that's available in this country, and probably every country in the world, but there's a need, even in this country, we're losing our spirituality. There's a need for everyone in this church to devise a way to reach a soul for God's kingdom. One of the, I'll read this, for his merciful kindness is great toward us, and the truth of the Lord endureth forever. Praise ye the Lord. This family here, we were at one of the schools. I went up the river. I was at a school. This family rode in on their motorbike, and this is the way they travel. They travel 4 hours through a narrow path through the mountains, and sometimes there was a steep cliff on one side. I can't even imagine this man balancing all of these people, and there's also a bag of rice at their feet as they're traveling through the mountain to come. We were going to hold some meetings, and there was going to be a baptism the next day, and so they had come to be a part of that. And he's a church planter in Myanmar, and he just wanted to be a part of what was going on. But a very amazing family. And the main purpose, the schools are kind of the secondary thing, but our biggest pursuit is to train workers. There's such a big amount of people who don't know the gospel that we really feel like there needs to be more people talking about the gospel. And so our biggest effort is always towards training more people to spread the gospel. And we do all of this. When I say we're doing it, it's really we're partnering with locals to do it. We don't teach much. I mean, we do a few things, but worships and activities with children, but it's all supporting local workers who understand the culture. They're comfortable in a bamboo hut at 105-degree weather and at night, and they can do it way more efficiently. They speak the language. And many of our workers were Buddhists, and they know what convicts to them about Jesus. And so they're willing to share their experience so they can tell their friends and their families and anyone that'll listen. But when I started working with one of the pastors, he came to me and he said, "Will you help me start a school?" He had started a foundation called the Education Opportunity Foundation, and he was helping a lot of kids. And he had 35 Bible workers at the time, and he said, "I've been trying for years to help my Bible workers understand that the health message is the entering wedge of the gospel, and they just don't get it. I don't have enough money to really bring them in and train them. So will you help me start a school, and will you go fundraise for me so I don't have to, so I can stay and teach my people?" I think he'll be 78 or 9 this year, and so we over the past 13 years we've trained a group of people to take his place and carry on the work. But at first they had maybe 4 weeks of training on using the health work as the entering wedge, and they didn't get it hands-on experience. They just heard it. They went to his house maybe 5 or 10 or 15 of them at a time per year, and they just never really got out and used it. And so in this school we started, it was a 10-month program. The first 6, they're learning the Bible. They're learning all these simple remedies that will be easy for the villagers to relate to, like they know how to make charcoal, and they can find herbs in the jungle. And so we're teaching them the simplest things that are available in the areas. And then the last 4 months of the training, they're going into the villages and they are practicing what they've learned. And they're having amazing experiences. And through those experiences, they're gaining the confidence to go out and branch out into new areas where there's no presence, no gospel presence. And so that's the purpose of this school. It's been running since 2013 also. We started it, and it's we had 2020 and 2021. There wasn't much happening because of all the regulations in Thailand. But this year last year we had a young man, I think he's around 28 years old, graduate from Heartland College here in America. He went back, he's the director of all of our Karen work, and he's the director of this school, but he does more than the school. He's all over. I mean, he's way too stretched. But this school, he has written a curriculum. We're starting a 2-year program where the students will come. They'll be there 11 months. They'll have a 1-month break. They'll be, I think it's 5 or 6 months of classroom training. Then they'll go to a location and work with one of our already trained workers for 5 months, and then they'll have a 1-month break, and then they'll come back and repeat the process again. This group here is some of the workers that we've already trained, and they're already placed in the field. And they're teachers, evangelists, Bible workers, medical missionaries. And they're all scattered in different locations, doing the work and using the health message as the entering wedge. We bring them all back, and they're trained every year a couple of times and add new instructions and information. But this group here showed up 2 weeks ago at our school. Because we're getting ready for this 2-year program to start, it's got to start June 3, but next, I think in 2 weeks, there's going to be a youth camp here at this campus. And so these students here who will be part of the training, they said, we'll come back early and help you with your building projects, and then they'll be trained to help with this youth camp. And we're expecting around 200 kids to come to the youth camp. It'll be all Karen children from many different places. So these students came, and they're helping build. We have so many building projects going on right now at this campus to make it big enough to handle the 50 students who will be studying there, plus the about 100 people who come to church on this campus every Sabbath. So the church was just too small. They were sitting in the windows and lined up outside the building, outside the back of the building. We decided we're going to build a community center / church to handle more. I think we can handle around 300 people now in this building. But they're working together, and they're building it. They didn't have a special crane. I might get to another project later that we did get a special crane for, but we just make do with what we have, and we try not to put a lot of expense into buildings, because the goal is just to have a place that people can come. It doesn't need to be high end or anything. We just mostly build ourselves. But I'm just going to go through some of the pictures, some of the students that have been coming here to help. These are a few of the buildings that they're in progress. Beyond this, they're right now, this last week, they were expanding the girls' dorm. We moved the girls' dorm to the boys' dorm, and then we're building a new boys' dorm, but the girls' dorm is still too small. So this week they're expanding it. They're building a cafeteria, and they'll be building a boys' dorm next. But there's a lot of work, and many of these students, they've had no experience in building, but they're learning how to mix cement and set tile, and there's a lot of good skills that they're developing. Wednesday, this was the first class that all these students are sitting in to be trained on how to run the youth camp and to be able to help and lead out when the kids get there. So we we have many trainings. The property is constantly being used for training. This Psalms 36:5 says, "Thy mercy, O Lord, is in the heavens, and thy faithfulness reaches unto the clouds." This boy, when he was 1 year old, he fell into a fire. And I don't know, you can see his hand is mangled, and I didn't see the side of his leg. I think it was mostly just his shoulder and face and hand. But I was sitting in the cafeteria, if you call it that, eating with the director one evening, and he walked in and sat down, and I talked to him a little bit. He speaks Burmese, and not a word in English, but so the director was translating, and then he looked at the director and said, "I want to ask him a question." And so he started talking with me back, and we started asking questions back and forth, and he said, "Where are you from?" And I said, "I'm from America," and I pulled out on my phone a picture of the river or the lake, whatever we call it here, covered with ice and snow. And I showed him that picture, and he was just amazed, and he'd never seen snow before. And as we were sitting there talking, a couple of students walked in, and he turned and he said something to them. And we were still talking, and then another student walked in, and he turned and he said the same thing, and I asked the director, "What is he saying?" And he said, "He's introducing you as his friend from the land of snow." And I was like, he's just a really special kid, and I believe God has great plans for him. His father died, I think, within the last 2 years. His mother remarried and abandoned him. Or I'm not sure what happened, but she doesn't keep him at all. So he's at the school living with the pastor as his uncle. He's at the school right now. I think when school starts, he might go to a dormitory somewhere. But he's very helpful. I think that God has set him aside for a great work. The last thing I want to talk about is a sanctuary. We're currently building a mosaic, a full-scale replica of the sanctuary, according to the plans that God gave Moses. But I'll go through these quickly. We're running out of time. We're building this at our health center. We have a foundation called the Gospel and Good Health Foundation. It's located about an hour north of Chiang Mai. And we have been running 10-day health programs there called the Maker Heals. And through that program, it's just talking about God is our maker. He knows how to heal us, and he tells us here in his word. And so it's really a health education course that's about 98% through Angel's message. And people come. We've put over 1,800 people through the program since 2018. And we've been wanting to add the sanctuary message, because we believe the sanctuary message is what God gave the Israelites so that they could better understand his character. And I thought, what a better place than a pagan country to introduce God's character, a better way we could do it. And so this was in probably 2020, our landlord, he's an evangelist, and his wife were taking us to the airport. And I just pulled out a picture of Messiah's mansion on YouTube and said, "What do you think of this?" They both lit up and they said, we gotta do this. This is perfect. And so we started by building that furniture. I figured I can't afford to build this building, but I could probably build some furniture. And so he hired a local Buddhist artist who sculptures for the temples a lot. He's a very good artist, and we used him to produce these furnitures, him and his wife, and all the furniture is finished. I'm going the wrong way again. And I'm just going to go through these slides of the program. But we have a lot of pastors usually will come and they'll be a part of the program when we can have up to 100 people at once on our property, and it's for 10 days, and well, for as long as they want, but usually it's 10 days, and and then we invite some pastors to come so that they can do side Bible studies between meetings and answer more questions. But the sanctuary is located in the blue box. The big cluster of buildings is the health center part, the health education part. These trusses were massive and heavy. The building is, I don't know in feet, but it's 20 meters by 40 meters. We're putting a roof over the whole thing because of the weather and the harshness of the sun, and it just wouldn't hold up if we kept it out in the open. And also then we decided to make it permanent because traveling around Thailand wouldn't be practical, and many churches don't have a location to set it up. And so we figured, let's just put it here. We'll bring people here to learn. And it's not just for the Thai people. We're hoping that many people from other countries will come and make educational materials in their own language to share with the people in their countries.
That's about the size of our pavilion at Sheridan Meadows. Almost the same size.
Oh, it is? Okay. I haven't been there, I don't think. So this is kind of some progress of the roof going on. That was the big step. Once it was done, now we're working inside, preparing the actual sanctuary model now. They just started this week. We just finished last week with that roof. I think I'm about finished here. This quote, this is one of my favorite quotes. It says, "All heaven is in activity, and angels of God are waiting to cooperate with all who will devise plans whereby souls for whom Christ died may hear the glad tidings of salvation. Angels who minister to those that shall be heirs of salvation are saying to every true saint, there's a work for you to do. Go stand and speak to the people all the words of this life." What are the words of this life? The words of this life, to me, means our testimony. What is our experience with God, and how has He led us in the past? And no one will argue with your testimony. It's sometimes scary to talk to people, and it's hard to get into the subject sometimes, but it's a way, when we talk about God's faithfulness, people's hearts are changed. And so they go on. It says, if those addressed would obey this injunction, the Lord would prepare the way before them, putting them in possession of means wherewith to go. And we've found over the past 13 plus years that God is faithful. His promises are true, and we can make big plans. Maybe they'll be slow. We started the sanctuary in 2020. COVID happened. It was shut down for a whole year. In 2021, we did a little more. We were working on the furniture. But Pastor Sudijet had a stroke or something like that, and he was down for 6 months. And then it took him another 6 months to build up to where he could oversee the project again. So we really, when I didn't have funding, I had told some people about it. I didn't know where the funding was going to come from, but we've been praying, and Pastor Sudijet told me when I got there, he said, every day I walk by that building site and I say, Lord, how much longer are we going to wait? When will the people hear about your character? And while I was there, I'm going to add this one more story. I'm going way too long. When I first got there, it was probably the second day I was there, Clay from our Bible school put out a little 1-minute video. He put it on Facebook, and it talked about needing funds to build 5 buildings at the school for this upcoming program. And the next day I got a text from somebody in Indiana, and they said, we saw a video on Facebook that somebody sent us, and we think it's Clay, and we met him at Heartland, and we really liked what he's doing, and we want to help him. What do you know how to connect us? And so I called them, talked with them. They said, well, what does your ministry do? And I said, well, I'll send you some information about what Clay's doing and who we are. And so I sent this information. 3 days later, they texted me and said, we're sending you a check to fully fund Clay and fully fund your sanctuary. And so I did nothing to earn that. This is all God's working. Just devise a plan and wait on God's movement, and He will open the way. I don't have any. If you want to learn more about our ministry, I didn't bring a sign-up sheet for emails, but you can talk to me later, or you can go on this website, sign up for future updates. I used to be good at putting out one every week, but it's down to I'm struggling to get one a month, and I'm going to try to get back to 2 a month, but we're in a transition time, and so we're still getting it done. But I think, thank you for taking the time. Thank you for being here, and I pray that you will, I just ask you to pray for the people, not just in Thailand, but this situation exists in many countries, and as we sit over here in our comforts, we sometimes forget that there's things going on in the world that it's not really affecting us, but we can be a part if we choose to. So thank you. We have a closing song. Is it page 100?